House flipping. A concept that a lot of people have heard of, but not many people know how to get started in. It's when you buy a house that has a problem, typically it's run down, you then fix that problem, like renovating the property, to then sell it on and make a profit. On average, you can make around £25,000 to £40,000 per property flip. A couple of those per year means you're doing pretty well for yourself. The problem is when you consider investing tens or hundreds of thousands of pounds into a rundown house, you want to make sure that you limit the amount of mistakes that you make. Yeah, not ideal.
Looks like we can't get in.
Oh, you're kidding. Especially on that first deal. So I want to share 3 ways that you could flip a house as a beginner where you minimize the amount of things that could go wrong. And the third method is the method that I personally used when I flipped my very first house. I have actually used all of these strategies since then and can highly recommend every single one of them. So the first one is to flip your own home. When I say your own home, what I mean is the property that you live in, your place of residence. The reason why I'd recommend this is because, well, firstly, the deposit that you need to put down is incredibly low. You can get, with some lenders, you can get 5% deposits and you could borrow 95% of the property's value on the purchase. Typically, you're putting about 10% in. But normally, when you're flipping a house, the minimum you need to put in is about 25%. But you can put down 10% on a residential property that you plan to live in, and that means that the amount of capital that you need to get started is significantly reduced. And especially as a beginner, if you're just getting started, it's better to start now with a smaller deposit than start in 5 years time once you've saved up that extra £15,000-20,000. You can actually take the next year or two to flip a house or two, and you'd then be in a much better position to then go on and turn it into a bit more of a commercially beneficial investment. The second thing is that you can take your time with it. Because you're going to be living there and it's going to be your place of residence, there's no rush. And again, this comes down to if your budget is quite limited, then you could spend the money that you've got on the deposit, you could move in, assuming that it was a habitable place to live. And just over time, as you work your job and you get paid every month, you could siphon off a little bit of your cash and you spend it on renovating the house. So 1 month you might paint the house, 1 month you might change the kitchen, 1 month you might change the carpets, and just over the course of a year, 2 years, 3 years, you could really drastically transform a home. Some friends of mine actually bought their house and they didn't even plan on flipping it. That wasn't their intention. They just wanted to live in a lovely home. But they bought what people would consider a fixer-upper. And over the course of the 3 years that they lived there, they just did different things. They replaced the kitchen, bathroom, carpets, painted, bit of plastering here and there. So they just gradually renovated this house in something that was incredible. And over the 3 years, they then sold that house and made about I think it might have even been £150,000 profit on that property. Completely accidentally, but because they lived in that property and they did it as a fixer-upper. So that's another benefit. You can really take your time when it comes to flipping a house, when it's your place of residence. The other thing is when you come to sell it, you actually pay no capital gains tax. Again, because it's your place of residence, it's your home that you live in. When you come to sell it, you're not subject to any capital gains tax, as long as the purpose of you purchasing it isn't to just flip it on, it's that you actually do live there. If you move in, you live there for however long, and then you decide it's time to sell and you want to move on to the next place, then you don't have to pay any tax on that at all. No capital gains tax whatsoever. The second method that you could leverage to mitigate your risk of things going wrong when flipping your very first property is to use an experienced deal packager. So a deal packager is somebody who finds a good quality property investment, they package it up and they sell that on to an investor. So this is a business that I run personally, and it's a fantastic business model as a property business, but it works so well for our clients because we can secure properties significantly discounted. That's one of the things that we specialize in, securing significantly discounted properties. And then we can purchase that and sell it on at a small margin, or we could even sell sell it on to our investors, and they're able to then take that on, renovate it, and sell it. One of the other things that we sometimes offer is project management. But even if we didn't offer project management, where we help people from start to finish, purchase the property, renovate the property, and sell the property, we can still help because we have experience in this field. We work with hundreds of people. We've worked with hundreds of people to sell or flip a house. So we know what we're doing. We have the experience in that field. Things to consider though when you are using a property deal packager is make sure you know that they are actually a specialist in that field. You don't want to be working with somebody who does rent to service accommodation deal packaging and then they just come to you and say, hey, I've got a flip. You kind of want to work with somebody who has a proven track record and is an actual specialist at house flips. You want to make sure that they are registered with the relevant bodies. So an ombudsman, a redress scheme, that's just something that you have to do as a legal requirement if you're going to be a deal packager. So someone's not registered with either like the PRS or the property redress scheme or the property ombudsman, TPO, then I would not touch them with a 12-foot barge pole. I wouldn't go anywhere near them. I would not buy a deal from them. I want to make sure that the people who are passing me deals are doing it in a way that is legit and compliant. The other thing to consider is, again, it kind of comes with back to the first thing I said, is getting the proven track record. Ask for previous examples of flips that they've done, people that they've worked with. Obviously, not everybody will want to reveal like their clients and their investment clients, but to see some before and afters, or to see some properties, if you can, properties that they have flipped for clients, or that they've worked with clients for who have managed to flip a property and make a profit. Now, the third method that I actually personally used on my very first property deal that I would recommend, and again, the other two options are fantastic, this is just the route that I just so happen to go down, is using a joint venture partner, working with somebody. Okay, so this is where you could come in, you might be able to bring the capital, somebody comes in who has experience at flipping houses. Again, same as with a deal package, you want to make sure that they actually do have experience and that they are an expert in this field, but you come together and you work together on a project and you kind of shadow what's going on. You want to make sure that you get to real grips with how we structure the build team, how you structure the finance, how do you actually get all of this and piece it together into something that is profitable. So that is kind of the key thing within that, is make sure you find somebody who has experience, who has done this before, because the reality is, even if you went and bought a property, and I say this all the time to people, the first house I did, if I'd bought that, okay, and what we did was I bought the house, the experienced investor paid for the refurb, and then we sold it and split the profit. If I'd made no profit from that deal, if I made nothing, it would have still been more valuable than probably any other experience in my entire life, because the gain that I had in terms of knowledge far outweighed the gain that I had from the financial profits that we made. So just by working with someone with experience and somebody that you trust, you can gain so much knowledge and experience yourself that will then enable you to go on to the next project. The second thing that you need to consider when you're working with a JV partner is, realistically, if you're coming to this as a beginner, then you're not going to be coming with experience, so you will need to bring the capital. Nobody's going to do a joint venture with somebody who has 5-10 grand. They're going to do a joint venture with somebody who has the full capital to purchase a property at least. It's just one of those things. It's a fair exchange of value. If somebody comes in with the experience, like I've worked with people where I come in, I find the property, I get it secured, I make sure that the legals go through quickly. My team deal with that and make sure it happens quickly. We renovate the property, we get our own build team on site, we renovate it, we then sell it with agents that we know, like, and we trust. We manage the whole thing so an investor doesn't have to touch it. So what we ask from our joint venture partners at the moment is that they put in all the capital, all the cash to be able to fund the deal for us. And then what we do is we come together, we purchase the property, we renovate it, and we split the profits 50-50. That is a typical joint venture structure. And if you're getting started in property, you're not going to be coming with the experience and expertise, so you will have to come with the capital. The other thing that you could consider is a joint venture, not with someone with experience or an investor, but a joint venture with a vendor, someone who is selling a property. Now, this is what's called an assisted sale, and it's kind of another strategy that you could use when it comes to getting started in property and flipping a house. Say, for example, you've got an uncle who is looking to sell a property and they're not really getting the price that they want on the open market, and the house is pretty dated and it's a little bit run down. You could go to your uncle and say, hey, what if I come in, I will renovate your property for you. I will put a new kitchen in, I'll put new carpets, paint, whatever. And we will then be able to sell that property for even more than you wanted. And the uplift that you get, we could maybe split 50-50, or you could get it 70-30, whatever you agree, you get a percentage of the uplift in the value when you come to sell the house. This is one of the greatest things that you can do in terms of mitigating risk, because you're not buying the property yourself. It means that you're putting in even less capital. So a bit like the very first strategy, buying your own home, you're limiting the amount of capital you have to put in. It's the same with this. All you have to pay for is the refurb. And if you are quite hands-on, if you're quite a DIY sort of person, you might want to get hands-on with the project and really condense the cost of a full refurb of a house, and then you're going to be able to significantly add value to the house and then sell it. And one, it means that for the vendor, they actually get the sale. It means that they might even get a bit more money than they hoped for. And it means that you're helping them out of a sticky situation where they're not able to sell the house. So in that situation, you want to be finding somebody who's struggling to sell at the price they want. You come in and you offer to fix the problem, i.e. in most cases, it's because the house is run down and it's overpriced. So if you want to get that sort of price, or if you want to get a little bit higher, we will come in, we will renovate that property for you, and we'll split the profits. So those are 3 ways that you can renovate a property and flip it and sell it on and make a profit as a beginner, in a way that kind of mitigates the risk a little bit. So remember, it's buying your own personal home, it's using an experienced and an expert deal packager in the world of property flips, or it is joining with a joint venture partner, whether that be an investor who has experience flipping houses or a seller who has a property to sell. Joint venture with people, you put the money in, you uplift the value, and you split the profits. I hope you found the video helpful, and don't forget, if you are looking for a property to flip, or whether you're looking for a buy-to-let or a HMO in the Northwest or the Midlands, then myself and my team at the Property Network, we help source people fantastic, high quality property deals. So I would love to be able to help you. I'd love to be able to work with you. The link and all the information will be in the description. You can find out more and sign up to our property deal email list. We'll send out property deals to your inbox every single time we get a deal, and you can let us know if it's something that you're interested in. I hope it's been a helpful video, and I'll see you in the next one.